Hi, my name is Bianca and welcome to my presentation on Constructivism and ICT in the classroom. Today I'll be talking about what is Constructivism and 3 different ICT platforms that I've chosen to discuss. So I'll be talking about YouTube, the Adobe Cloud, and Google Drive. I'm hoping by the end of the presentation to understand what is constructivist theory and how to successfully implement appropriate ICT in the classroom. So what is Constructivism? Constructivism is a learning theory that emphasizes the construction of knowledge by the learner themselves rather than the receiving of information. Learners use their current knowledge and understanding of the world to guide their future learning, which makes the education experience one that is subjective to the learner themselves, as well as one that is based on their own social and cultural contexts. Constructivism through a social lens focuses on the role of others and how collaborating and working with others is the key to gaining knowledge. The context in which students learn is essential to the formation of knowledge. 3 aspects related to learning with social constructivist theory are reality, knowledge, and learning. Reality is the idea that current knowledge is formed and shared with others, but ultimately made by the individual. Knowledge is what is created as a result of collaboration and interactions with others within their environment. And finally, learning is what is believed to have taken place within these social settings and contexts. Constructivism takes on 2 forms, social and psychological. Social constructivism focuses on the social aspects that influence education, whereas psychological constructivism looks more at how an individual creates meaning from what they learn. Social interaction is essential to constructivist learning, along with the notion that learners can guide their own education and move towards being autonomous learners. There are 2 main forms of teaching strategies that fall under constructivism, that is, discovery learning and inquiry learning. Discovery learning entails learners changing elements within their environment and performing experiments to see which is more beneficial to them, compared to inquiry learning, which looks at learners forming questions and seeking answers to them individually. Scaffolding is cited as a very helpful practice in guiding students to become autonomous learners and construct their own learning in the future. The practice aiding students in becoming independent lends itself directly to constructivist learning theory. So why should we use ICT in the classroom? It's because it's stated in the Australian curriculum. It's an essential life skill that students must learn through their schooling journey in order to keep up with the advancing nature of society. Students are now considered digital natives, having been born into a world of technological advancements, and so because of this, their ICT skills should be refined within the classroom. First up is YouTube. So what is YouTube? It's an online platform used to share and watch videos. Videos are available on almost any topic imaginable and provide valuable information for its viewers. It's used for entertainment and educational purposes, and it's accessible by anyone who has access to the internet and a device. How can YouTube be used in a constructivist classroom? So YouTube is a very useful tool in the way of constructivism. This online video platform supports the collaboration of others. This is a key principle in constructivism theory. Another key element of constructivist theory is the notion of exploration. This is very applicable to students when they use YouTube. This platform is used for expanding their learning, and they are actively exploring different avenues in the form of video to further their learning. This aids students in making meaning of new information and guiding their future learning. YouTube is so valuable to a constructivist classroom to facilitate teaching and learning. In the instance of visual arts, YouTube is very useful for students who wish to further their knowledge and skill in art practices such as drawing, painting, or using Photoshop. The vast array of tutorials available on YouTube for students to access will aid them in constructing and furthering their knowledge and skill. The ability to choose and guide their own path with a tutorial that best suits them lends itself to constructivist theory, where the students are in charge of their own learning. How can YouTube support diverse learners? YouTube is a very useful platform for supporting diverse learners in a classroom. The main types of learners that benefit from using YouTube are visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners based on the Bark model. This is because it's a visual and auditory platform. So it's visual in the sense that watching videos and instructions and infographics will help those kinds of learners. Listening to spoken instruction and information will help auditory learners. Kinesthetic learners benefit from YouTube because they can do what their instructor is doing at the same time, and it's accessible to anyone with a device and internet. The ethical use of ICT with YouTube. So when using this in the classroom, it's very easy to fall down an inappropriate rabbit hole. So students need to be monitored to ensure they're on the right track. There are certain programs that teachers can use to monitor student screens from their own device, such as Monitor Net Support Screen Monitoring. This will allow teachers to ensure their students are acting in accordance with the school's ICT policy and guidelines. When teachers are sharing videos with their classes, they should watch the content and ensure it's age appropriate for students to view. In addition to these precautions, students should sign a consent form to agree to the safe use of ICT. So we'll just look at YouTube now. So students can find anything on here. For instance, I'll type in origami tutorial, and here are a number of different videos that students can look through, and they can do this in the classroom with any topic, and it's a very useful tool in furthering the knowledge of the students in any area. Okay, next we'll be looking at the Adobe Cloud. So what is it? It's a collection of programs that assist in the creation of graphic design, video editing, and web development, as well as photography and most digital art forms. The most notable programs are probably Photoshop, Illustrator, and After Effects. So how can this be used in a constructivist classroom? The majority of using the Adobe Suite is self-guided. So the individual testing of tools and apps to create self-guided work is applied by students. Experimentation is a big one to figure out how to use the program and figure out what works for you. So the exploration of different tools and methods to create their own work. It can be used collaboratively with other students, so they can all work together to make a big project on the same program. And it's a very creative program. It's used to create projects designed to capture creative thoughts. So diverse learners. The Adobe Suite is catered towards visual and kinesthetic learners, as the purpose of using the site is primarily visual, such as graphic design, video editing, and photography. These programs assist diverse learners in providing them with a myriad of options on how to come to their end goal, and multiple programs to do so. The tools and commands are fairly similar across all the apps and create a sense of continuity across the suite. Most schools have a subscription to the service so that it is made available to the students. They can do this at home or at school. So to use the Adobe Suite safely, much like YouTube, the teacher can monitor students' work on the various programs through a monitoring app on their device. This would ensure that students aren't making crude or rude images and videos on their computers and are acting in accordance with the school's guidelines. Giving students a lesson on ethical and responsible use of ICT can also alter the way they use the program and ensure a zero-tolerance bullying scheme. I'll just have a look at the Creative Cloud Suite. So here it is here. It's got all the apps here. It's very easy to access for students, and it's separated by category, so students can go to whatever they're looking for and find which apps would help them. It's very simple to use and very valuable for creative type students. Next, I'll be talking about Google Drive. So what is it? Google Drive is a file storage and synchronization service that allows people to work on any device at any time to create documents, presentations, spreadsheets, and any type of working file. It's accessible and easy to use and has a large amount of opportunities for working and learning. So how can this be used in a constructivist classroom? The opportunities that Google Drive provides are endless and are an excellent addition to a constructivist classroom. The most exciting thing about Google Drive is its push towards working collaboratively. In alignment with one of Constructivism's key principles, working collaboratively with others, this application helps students enact this with ease. On all platforms accessible within Google Drive, that is docs, slides, sites, sheets, etc., there is an option to share the document. This encourages students to work together and tackle tasks with each other's help to guide their learning. The class teacher could also create a document for the students and share it and create a whole class resource for every student to use. So Google Drive pretty much tackles most types of learners. It There are many different methods that can be used for recording information. Students who excel with reading and writing will gain a lot of learning experience from Google Drive, as its primary function is to record information in a written form. The other functions on Google Drive, such as Google My Maps or Google Drawing, are helpful for visual learners as they are able to visually record their information. This is also applicable for Indigenous students, as mind mapping and visual representations are more effective forms of learning. Students who aid from auditory learning can utilize Google Jamboard for the creation of sounds and music. Google Drive has all the tools necessary for the success of every type of diverse learner and is extremely accessible to anyone with a device and an internet connection. So Google Drive is a tool that can be abused by students if necessary measures aren't taken. Giving students a lesson on safe and ethical ICT use can be invaluable in teaching students the dangers and repercussions of improper use of technology. The teacher can also make sure that nothing can be posted anonymously to prevent any cyberbullying or irresponsible use of the site. Overall, through a strict set of guidelines and monitoring, teachers can ensure the ethical and responsible use of Google Drive in the classroom. I'll give a short demonstration here. So I've actually made this whole presentation on Google Drive, which is very useful. So here it stores all my documents and photos, and I can create a new folder to organize it, or any document. So I can create a form, a presentation, a sheet, a drawing, a website even, and I can make music. Google Drive is a very diverse program for diverse learners. Thank you for listening. That's my presentation on constructivism and ICT in the classroom.